Morning, Roxanne. Thursday blessings to you as well. Carol Boyce John, 123, morning to you. Felix Hospitalis, Denise Bramble, morning. Margaret Thomas, morning, Margaret. Cyril Mayas, morning, sir. Ann Niles, morning to you. Anthony Joseph, good morning. Deborah Duranti, morning, Deborah. Alberta, morning. Marlene Panton, morning to you. Neil Francois, always present, sir. Morning. Morning, Diane. Judy Small, morning, Judy. Patricia Kwamena, good morning. Good morning to His Excellency, President of Pleasantville. Morning, sir. I trust that your birthday was well spent yesterday. I saw some photos, so yes, if I had any doubts, well, I know the First Lady would treat you well. So, Merle Durant, Alison Boyce, Claire Carrington, morning to all of you. Alana Rose, morning, Alana. Joy Raghunanan, morning. Angela Carty, morning, Angela. Marilyn McAllister. Yes, Roxanne, this morning I went to bed late last night. This American politics wearing mouth. Well, 1 o'clock in the morning, I still up watching MSNBC and CNN and stuff. I find Trump ain't getting no coverage these days, but poor soul. See, Jennifer Nicholas, morning. Lystra Sidney, morning to you. Annette Beard. We have the Olive Durant, morning. MWX The Rush, morning to you. Jenny Joseph, Jennifer Dorset. I imagine so, Nigel. John Edwards, morning to you. Patricia Kwamena says, I know the assignment 2024. I'm voting Democratic and in 2025 PNM. Excellent, Patricia. Anne Marie Cooley, morning. Is there Roxanne? Madman Trump? Nah. I just try to see him Meltdown, you know. I wanted to see what his response would have been to Tim Walz. I saw he says, you know, he is so pleased with that pick because they were afraid that it would have been Josh Shapiro of Pennsylvania because they thought it would have been more difficult to attack him than Tim Walz. But I don't see how, because when you go through threads, threads just seems to be Democratic all day. It's just about Harrison and Walz. The interview with the African journalist told me all. Yes, that was a meltdown. And since then, you know, he's seemingly gone into hibernation, only popping up to give interviews now and again. The Fox News, I think he just has one stop that he's making. I think is in Michigan, probably on Friday or something. But I saw his running mate J.D. Vance had he had his own meltdown yesterday because it appears that he is, as they say, he's stalking Kamala Harris and Tim Walz because yesterday he went, his plane arrived shortly after their plane arrived. can't remember where that was to. Was it? I can't remember where it was. Um, and then he and his entourage decided to walk over to Air Force Two. And he says, then he goes to the media and he says, well, I just went to inspect my plane because it's going to be my plane in a couple of months anyway. Like seriously, J.D. Vance, that isn't weird at all. As if the weird label wasn't bad enough. He just had to add to it, add insult to injury. Poor soul. And imagine walking across and seeing this huge crowd in the hangar for Tim Walz and Kamala Harris, and then he goes to his venue, which is in a parking lot somewhere, and they said there were about 90 persons there, 80 of which were members of the media who came to cover the meeting, and the next 10 was the people he brought with him. So, poor soul. Terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Right, thank you, Nigel. It was Detroit. Yeah. So I see my people here following up on what's happening in the US, man. Jenny says we know the assignment, and it says he's so foolish. Absolutely. I mean, how pathetic did that look? Do your thing. You want to be stalking. Come on. And then you made the news cycle for all the wrong reasons. Phyllis Farrell, morning to you. Jennifer Ferron, morning. 6:45. Let me jump into it. It's another one of those mornings. Have to be off by 9 o'clock because I have a Zoom call right after. So, Guardian, what date is this? 2 days ago. Former local government election candidate quits UNC, claims bad treatment at budget talks. You know if you also that one. Defeated UNC candidate for Arima Northeast in the local government elections, Jezino Rigsby, has resigned from the party, saying he was poorly treated at the recent budget consultations in Arima. Rigsby has also taken issue with what he called the UNC's ideologies. Rigsby severed ties with the party in a July 24th resignation letter addressed to the UNC General Secretary, Peter Kanhai. He was the UNC's Arima Northeast candidate in the August 2023 local government election polls. Initial results showed him tying with the PNM's candidate, Kim Garcia, each getting 623 votes. The PEP's candidate received 81 votes. After subsequent recounts, reviews by the EBC, and a UNC election petition concerning ballots, Garcia was eventually declared the winner in September 2023. This year, Rigsby supported he was not. He was eventually declared the winner, and then they went to court and he lost. Come on, man, better than that, Guardian. This year, Rigsby supported the United Patriots team led by Mayaro MP Rushton Paré, which unsuccessfully contested the party's June 15 national election. Rigsby had sought the post of Northeast Regional Representative, but lost to UNC star team candidate Khadija Amin. On July 17th, Rigsby was among speakers at the UNC's Arima budget consultations. He was notified by the host that he had 3 minutes to give his presentation and was reminded of that when the time was up. Rigsby's face was also not shown on camera. In his resignation letter, Rigsby said, "My decision to leave has been an easy one in view of the modus operandi of the UNC. Moreover, I do so in the best traditions of integrity, fair play, accountability, transparency, and ethical behavior. I've always advocated and offered solutions at constituency levels to improve the UNC brand along the East-West corridor, most recently at the internal elections." He added, "Moreover, the party's behavior towards me at the recently concluded budget consultations leaves much to be desired, especially when you were also present. I've always advocated for solutions that are future-driven, future-oriented in terms of constitutional reform, climate change, mitigation, sound economic research, unemployment, yada yada." Rigsby also highlighted his concerns about the beliefs of the UNC. "Unfortunately," he said, "the ideology of the UNC and myself are at crossroads, especially in terms of change, integrity, there is that word, let's circle that, credibility, circle that too, ethical behaviors." I feel like I'm in one of my classes. I'm telling my students to underline and highlight this and highlight that. Let me repeat that. Unfortunately, the ideology of the UNC and myself are at a crossroads, especially in terms of change, integrity, credibility, and ethical behavior. There is no embracing of ideas and creativity, and the continuous suppression of free speech continues to go unabated. And I cannot and will not be a part. Just keep doing my note. Yes. Right. I cannot and will not be a part of such a toxic organizational culture. Wow. A good thing. But anyway, I would usually follow protocol and wish the party all the best in its future endeavors, but in this instance, I feel compelled to refrain from such, given the party's treatment of myself while being a member of the party, he stated. Yesterday, in a telephone interview, Rigsby said his decision wasn't no. I've had concerns with the way the party has been going, including if you're not in agreement with them, you get talk thrown at you, or you are undermined. The reception I got at the budget consultation was the last straw. I noted a lot of negative body language towards me, and when I was speaking, people kept bawling, time, reminding me of the speaking time. I intend to still put my ideas out to the public, but can't say yet if I'll join another party. Kanhai and other UNC executive officials did not answer calls for comments on Rigsby's resignation. Last week, Komoto Manzanilla MP Dr. Rai Ragbir said he was blanked by the UNC from its budget talks, which they held in his constituency. And 3 of the 4 other MPs who, like Ragbir, supported Paris United Patriots in June were also not expected to be featured at the party's budget consultations in their constituencies. At all other consultations held so far, the MPs for the respective areas have presided over the talks. Well, I guess there will be no rapprochement there. So she wrote to Vasant and said, Vasant, come home, come back. Let us mend fences. Yeah, let bygones be bygones. But Parry, who is still a member of parliament, Ragbir, who is still a member of parliament, Rodney Charles, Anita Haynes, all these guys, she's not interested in them. All you go so. You all have no political value. So they know they better go to the nearest the nearest funeral home and pick out a coffin. The political cemetery folia. Poor souls. But what this guy is telling us, it's always interesting that when all these things that he just said here, when PNM saying it, the fully duns, drinking barley's a juice and all of this and that. But this is somebody who was in the belly of the beast. And he is telling you the same things that we always telling them. He was there. They selected him. He would have been screened. And they say, yes, this is a good guy to represent us in Ariman or twice. And he went and he was unsuccessful. They fight tooth and nail to get a seat. And they lost. And now, you're treating him like a pariah. This is not the first time we're hearing this. You all remember Fish, who was PNM, and then in the by-election, he went up, was that in 2021 or thereabouts? And then he went up, represented the UNC, he won the seat. And that was a seat that was held by Lisa Morris Julian, now member of parliament for Davide O'Meara. A seat that was held by the PNM for quite some time. And this guy went up and he won. And the people said, well, because we know the guy from the area, he's a good guy, he does a lot. In this instance, it wasn't about politics, it was about, we know that he is a hard worker. And they voted for him. Then there was also the talk that the candidate, that the PNM's candidate, was aloof, and people just couldn't saddle. So, but Fish said the same thing when he decided to come back to the PNM. He spoke about the bad treatment that he got in the UNC, notwithstanding the fact that he won the seat and he was a councillor. There was no support from the party whatsoever. So for them, it's just about winning seats. It's not about delivery. It's not about doing the work. It's not about helping the people. It's just about winning seats to brag and goes, hey, we get a PNM seat. That's why you all ended up losing it in last term local government election. Right? And that is why in Lengua Indian War, colleague Toletil soundly cut that in a matchup, a by-election, UNC got less votes than they did in the local election, the substantive election. And the PNM got over 600 more votes. Likewise, in Kamla Prasad Bissasa's constituency, right? Quina Mondiablo, the PNM was able to increase its vote count by 600. We will beat the PNM to a frazzle, and then we will beat the frazzle too. So said the Member of Parliament for Oropuch East, Rudal Munilal. Munilal, we're still waiting to see the frazzle. I want to see what frazzlers look like. You didn't get no frazzle. Yeah, the PNM, they're running, they're frightened, probably afraid to face the electorate and all kind of stupid talk. Jokey, yes. Spread what? What does that party have to offer? What they had to offer? Has anything changed, if anything, from 2015 to now? They got worse. Nothing of substance. But anyway. So yesterday, the Prime Minister would have put out a post on Facebook with respect to the EBC. Let me get this here. So let me get this here. Nine Roxwood, I should put up. Anyway, we'll deal with you on another day. The position of the EBC to question EBC staff about their vote is absolutely unacceptable. The vote in this country is secret, and no person in public employment must be forced to reveal how he or she voted or intend to vote. Returning officers are not to comply with this strange and disturbing development at the EBC. The PNM, which has not been consulted on this matter, is resolutely opposed to this unnecessary and possibly illegal action. Where did this come from? And that was the Prime Minister, right? You all could, some of y'all need to follow the Prime Minister's Facebook page. Just type in Dr. Dr. Keith Rowley, and if you're not following him already, you could follow him so that you can get his posts. I find you get what, 94 comments, 47 shares. That should have been over 100 shares. But anyway, so clearly in this post, the Prime Minister is saying that he disagrees with this statement by the EBC, or this intention as articulated by the EBC chairman, right? But Motomout, well, I know who that is. I don't know. I can't understand this obsession that he has with Dr. Rowley. This man is like J.D. Vance stalking Kamala Harris. He stalking Dr. Rowley. Every day, whole day, every day. You go on his Facebook page, it's something to attack Dr. Rowley. I mean, if Dr. Rowley decide that he wearing, if you know, they said that the color of the belt supposed to match your shoe. But if Dr. Rowley make a mistake and wear the wrong color belt and vis-a-vis the shoe, I feel he will come and write a whole 4-paragraph post on his Facebook page about that. So he decided to attack Dr. Rowley based on that, right? So let me play this for you. Let me just connect this. Yeah, I know I know I don't like to hear him either, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. We haven't heard from that other one in quite a while. I haven't played him. And he's been quiet because he's in Paris. Oh no, I don't know where the hell he is. Well, he's covering the Olympics. No, I don't know. I don't think he's in Paris, but he's covering the Olympics anyway. So he hasn't really been commenting, which I find strange because there's nothing preventing him from just going live, talking for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Yeah, but he will use the coverage, Olympics coverage. Maybe as he's covering the Olympics, he probably figures he needs to be a little, circumspect. Yeah. But everybody already knows what you are, who you are, that you are low life, gutter rat. So avoiding controversial statements now while you're covering the Olympics, what you figure that they will tell you, hey, Anil, you need to take it down or you need to bust it. So you let it pile up, and then as soon as the Olympics end, you want to come back and all right. Well, we accepted this decision, right? Okay. So bear with me. Right. Let me see if I get this here. So let me pull it up here. Yeah. So yesterday he posted, let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A 7-paragraph post about the EBC's decision. Let me play this.
See, and make us political leaders of the. Even though we have seen that the political leaders of the PNM, the UNC, and the NTA, we have all stated that we think it may be an inappropriate decision. What I find totally disturbing, totally disgraceful, and unacceptable is that the political leader of the PNM has the audacity, yet again, to feel he could bully the EBC and make a statement of the EBC not having contacted the PNM on a decision on this matter. The EBC does not have to contact the PNM on this. The EBC is an independent body. And then for him to again have the audacity to state to the EBC officers not to adhere to the wishes of the EBC, it again shows that this individual, Keith Rowley, believes that as a prime minister, he has full control of all independent bodies. This yet again shows the arrogance of Keith Rowley and the fact of when I continue to state that this is becoming a dictatorial country. And this Trinidad and Tobago, it is no different to what he has done with the director of the SSA, with the head of the Industrial Court, the head of the Integrity Commission, the head of the Central Bank, the office of the DPP, the judiciary, and even myself as Commissioner of Police. We recall that what caused the problem between Keith Rowley and myself was when he had the audacity, because of his ignorance and not understanding the law in the public health regulations, was basically alluding to the fact of trying to direct the police to arrest persons in their homes. And had I adhered to his directives, the country would have been paying tens upon tens of millions of dollars in damages because the police had no authorization to arrest people in their private property during the public health regulations. So yet again, this shows Keith Rowley overstepping his bounds and believing that because he is a prime minister, he has the authority to direct, manipulate independent institutions. This has.
I need to change his name to Captain Audacity. That appears to be his favorite word because he used it like what, 3-4 times. Keith Rowley has the audacity, and every time he has to talk about the prime minister has the audacity. Now, let me read again what it is the prime minister said. Right? I'm confused. Yeah, I'm real confused there by Captain Audacity. The position of the EBC to question EBC staff about their vote is absolutely unacceptable. So Dr. Rowley is saying he disagrees with it, right? Okay. The vote in this country is secret, and no person in public employment must be forced to reveal how he or she voted or intend to vote. So again, he's reinforcing the fact he doesn't agree with it, right? Returning officers are not to comply with this strange and disturbing development at the EBC. The PNM, which has not been consulted on this matter, is resolutely opposed to this unnecessary and possibly illegal action. Where did the Prime Minister say that the EBC must consult the PNM? He says the PNM, which has not been consulted on this matter, is resolutely opposed to this unnecessary and possibly illegal action. So I see two things there. One, the Prime Minister is making it abundantly clear that lest the fully done should come and say, well, it's Rowley and it's the PNM who tell the EBC to do that because they want to know who is UNC so that they could put PNM people, right? The Prime Minister is making it clear to the fully done. The PNM was not consulted on this, right? This came like a thief in the night for us in the same way that it has for everybody else. So those of you who support that other party and want to come on Facebook and social media and the app and talk stupidness and say, oh, it's Rowley, tell them, and that will be PNM again, and we're in this country is turning into a dictatorship, and Rowley tell them, and he's letting you know the PNM was not consulted. Right? So put that to rest one time. Don't come with all your rubbish to say nothing about the government and the PNM tell the EBC to do that. Because the leader of the other side loves to say that she has been on the warpath with the EBC since 2015 when they lost the general election, right? Always accusing the EBC of being a PNM party group. So the Prime Minister is letting all of them know, hold up. But in any event, you would think that something like this, such a monumental decision like this, that the EBC would have consulted with not just the PNM, but all political parties, because this has ramifications, right, for them. And therefore, if you're going to make such a decision, The same people who were talking about consultation and consultation. I read for you all yesterday, Vanas James talking about if the government figure that the citizens of this country are slaves and that they don't consult with anybody and they just make decisions. Well, I want to ask Vanas, do you think this warranted consultation? You think so? Because I mean, it also impacts because in 2025, TPP we know intends to contest the general election. It would be their first, and as a result of that, they too would need to their returning officer, the returning officers for in Tobago would have to declare their political allegiance. And if it is they support the TPP, they would have to declare that. Did the political leader of the TPP speak on this matter? The Prime Minister of Tobago? Did he express concerns about this? Because I hear Gary Griffith say the political leaders of the main parties, the UNC, the PNM, and the NTA. Okay, apparently he has no regard for the TPP, which is currently in charge in Tobago. But all right, speaks volumes. Will you hear Fadi say anything on that? Or he not concerned? I just ask it. I haven't heard anything from the leader of the opposition, Kamala Persad-Bissessar, so I don't know where Motomot get that from, because I've been visiting her Facebook page. I've seen nothing. She has not even posted the article, which I find very strange because, as I said before, this is someone who has been waging war on the EBC since 2015. Right? As recent as just a couple of months ago, again, they were attacking the EBC, had so many concerns that they decided to put together a delegation of UNC executive members, and they went to the EBC at Scott House on Frederick Street to meet with the EBC, right, to discuss their concerns about a number of things. So it is passing strange that there has been no official comment coming out of the UNC camp, not from Kamla, not from Munilal, not from Motomot. Does the UNC have a public relations officer? Who is that person? I know once upon a time it was Anita Haynes. Who it is now? I just asking. Nothing official from them. And then last night I was looking at CNC3 News when they raised this story, and they did indicate that attempts were made to contact Persad-Bissessar via telephone call, WhatsApp, email, and no response from her. Is she in the country? I don't know. If she is, she's been very, very quiet. You're not seeing her, you're not hearing her right now. They've suspended their Monday night forum meetings, and now they're having their budget consultations, which, judging from the one that they had last night, didn't really go too well. Yeah? To bring in a set of has-beens from all over the place to come and talk a set of nonsense as fillers. Because the people who come in is the waterfront ilk, that they bust in from constituency to full chairs and don't have the capacity to understand what is being said and can't ask no question. So half the hall was UNC councillors and members of the executive, and the next half is people who they bust in and who they could have find on the side of the road and say, hey, come, what you doing? You are $100. Come and sit down and for 1.5 now and just listen. You had to do nothing, just sit down and pretend like you understand what is being said. Yeah? You could keep your eye open. We just needed to stay away for 1.5. Yes, we know what you're going to listen to is extremely boring. It might put you to sleep, but if you could stay up for 1.5, we add an extra 50. Yeah, come true. Pathetic. What is going to come out of these budget consultations? What they're looking for further to put for the leader of the opposition's response to the minister. But anyway, so I haven't heard anything from Persad-Bissessar, contrary to what Gary Griffith said. But this man is a walking contradiction, because Dr. Oli has the same position that you have in respect to this matter. Let me get it here. Where is it? This thing will just fall off. You know what I find interesting too? That video I just played there, this man posted this yesterday. He gave one comment. Most of his posts don't get much engagement. But anyway, here's what he said. I'll just give you a little bit of what he said, right? EBC needs effective policies, not cosmetic change. In my capacity as political leader of the NTA, I want to express deep concern over the recent announcement by the Election and Boundaries Commission to require all 41 returning officers to declare their political affiliations ahead of the next general election. While the EBC claims this move is within its legal rights. We firmly believe that it possesses significant risks to the constitutional rights of citizens and does not effectively address the core issues of electoral integrity and impartiality. And he goes on to talk about protecting the constitutional rights, the fallacy of political allegiance declarations. Asking a returning officer to declare their political allegiances is unlikely to solve concerns about impartiality in the electoral process. Let me repeat that. Asking returning officers to declare their political allegiances is unlikely to solve concerns about impartiality in the electoral process. There is a real risk that individuals could provide false information, thus nullifying the intended purpose of such a measure. Moreover, political affiliation does not automatically equate to bias. A person with declared political leanings may be entirely capable of performing their duties with integrity, while another who claims neutrality might still in fact be biased. And this policy could result in unfair discrimination against individuals who are entirely capable of executing their roles impartially. So he took 7 paragraphs, basically, to say what Dr. Rowley said in one, or in 3 lines. That's when you're like, you just like to yap. So something, I don't know, a whole 7 paragraphs. And Dr. Rowley's 3 lines got more engagement than his 7 paragraphs. Right? He got 3 likes and 2 comments. No shares. 0 shares. Dr. Rowley's 3 lines or 4 lines got 47 shares. 90-something comments. Right? But after he sit down in front of a computer and type up all of this long set of paragraph, you get 3 likes and 2 comments. Trying to be relevant. Everything that happened, you need to run. Hey, I need to put out a post for that. You feel I'm going to help you in the general election? Nobody really reading these things. Unless, of course, they need to reference it to have discussions like this. But I want to read something, right? And there was a reason, well, I'm coming back to his post, but there's a reason why I emphasized that last line. Asking returning officers to declare their political allegiances is unlikely to solve concerns about impartiality in the electoral process. Why did I emphasize that? Let me read this article for you. UNC meets with the EBC over concerns, calls for international observers. May 6th, 2024. This is 3 months ago. 3 months ago. Listen carefully. The United National Congress said it recently met with the Elections and Boundaries Commission to discuss matters of concern. In a statement, the UNC said, as the United National Congress continues its preparations for the impending general election, a team from the UNC consisting General Secretary Peter Kanai, Deputy Chairman Khadija Amin, Operating Officer, I guess, Dr. Tim Gopi Singh, National Campaign Manager Feroz Khan, Vijay Gosain, and Attorney at Law Daryl Allaha met with the EBC Commissioners and Chief Elections Officer on May 1st, 2024. UNC said the meeting follows the raising of a number of issues surrounding irregularities, transparency in the local government and the general elections, and the conduct of the EBC in general by the UNC political leader Kamla Prasad-Bissessa. The UNC said among the issues raised with the EBC were 1. The EBC boundaries report. 2. Irregularities in special voting and securing of ballot boxes. 3. The EBC's house-to-house voter regularization. 4. The registration of CARICOM nationals, Commonwealth nationals, and non-Commonwealth nationals who are resident in Trinidad. 5. The upcoming by-elections. And 6. Here this one. The recruitment and training of EBC's election personnel and mechanisms for dealing with concerns of impartiality in the way these officers perform their functions. Let me read that one again. The recruitment and training of EBC's election personnel and mechanisms for dealing with concerns of impartiality in the way that these officers perform their functions. I run back by Gary. Asking returning officers to declare their political allegiances is unlikely to solve concerns about impartiality in the electoral process. So, I find it passing strange, or is it? that mere months after the UNC met with the EBC and raised as one of their concerns the recruitment and training of the EBC's election personnel and mechanisms for dealing with concerns of impartiality in the way these officers perform their functions. That the EBC comes out and says, well, here what? To deal with the concerns regarding the impartiality and the way these officers perform their functions, we will ask them to declare their political allegiance and inquire as to whether or not they are political activists. I wonder if that was a suggestion of the UNC when they met with the EBC. I just ask him. Because as again, I find it very strange that the leader of the opposition has not commented on this issue. Rural Munilal hasn't commented on it. Khadija Amin hasn't commented on it. In fact, none of them, Peter Kanai, none of them who met with the EBC 3 months ago have commented on it and are making themselves unavailable to the media for comment. So is it that you all support this because it was your suggestion? I don't know. I just thinking outside the box. Maybe. And if that is so, should we be concerned that we don't normally attack the EBC. I'm not attacking the EBC, right? Because I think by and large the electoral process in Trinidad and Tobago is free and fair. When the PNM loses, we don't go on a rant like other parties and claim bias and the EBC thief and they rig the election and all kind of thing. When the PNM loses an election, we take our legs, we go away, put our tails between our legs, right? Okay, we get a tail cut, right? We look for that. We didn't do what we were supposed to do. It happened, okay. At no point in time, there is the EBC thief and the EBC do this and the EBC do that. We don't do that, right? We do our introspection and you will hear members of the PNM who will come out and say, well, we made some mistakes. We didn't do this, we didn't do that. And so we know better for next time and we will regroup and come again. And that is what the PNM always does. And they will and come again. And then we see what the results are. Right? But interesting that one of the issues, that of the 6 issues raised by the UNC, that seems to be the only one that the EBC addressed frontally. What were the other 5? What on with that? I read another article which spoke about after all of the thing and they would generate a report and provide it to the UNC. But Motomot didn't have a problem with the EBC consulting with the UNC. Motomot, none problems with that. But Dr. Rowley merely stated that the PNM was not consulted. So Dr. Rowley saying if it is there was a consultation with another party on this matter, which there appears to be, there was no such consultation with the PNM or any other political party other than that party, who, based on what we read in this article here, would have raised this matter 3 months ago when they met with the EBC. And 3 months later, we see that the EBC has now taken a decision to address an issue that was raised by them. And they are conspicuously quiet, uncharacteristically quiet about this development. Regarding the EBC, that they always complain about the EBC this and the EBC that, and the chief elections officer is Maxi Coffee and all of that, and they want election observers and whatnot, and the EBC is a PNM party group. All that foolishness. No official statement. Right? This is the party that loves to send out official statements. Something happened now, and within 1 hour, the leader of the opposition put out a press release. But here we are, 24 hours later. Well, more than that. And no comment, and she's unavailable to speak with the media to give a simple comment. Let me read that last thing again, right? Just for those, if it was in your fridge. Concern number 6 that was raised by the UNC in their meeting with the EBC, the recruitment and training of the EBC's election personnel and mechanisms for dealing with concerns of impartiality in the way these officers perform their functions. Now, if it was the other way around, and this was the PNM who had raised this issue, and 3 months later this happened, well, all hell would have break loose. All hell would have broken loose, I'm telling you. You wouldn't hear the end of that from that other side. So I wait to see. But let me go back to Captain Audacity, because there was something else he mentioned that I wanted to touch on. Let me see here. Where is it? Where is it? Captain Audacity, where you put that, man? Yes, the need for genuine electoral reforms. This is paragraph number 4 of 7. Instead of focusing on political declarations, the government should address the systemic issues affecting electoral integrity. The outdated manual voting system, reminiscent of the 1960s and 70s, is a significant factor in potential fraud and errors. By transitioning to electronic voting, we can enhance accuracy, reduce human error, and bolster public confidence in our electoral processes. This is why the opposition in Venezuela is so confident of victory after the election, since they claim to be in possession of electronic data. The outdated manual voting system, reminiscent of the 1960s and 70s, is a significant factor in potential fraud and errors. And by transitioning to the electronic voting system, we can enhance accuracy, reduce human error, and bolster public confidence in our electoral processes. Where Gary Griffith living? Where he living? On that rock? He just wake up. Now, I was not wrong at that time, right? I wasn't even a thought yet. But correct me if I'm wrong for those of you who were there, back then. Wasn't there an effort to do this very thing, to introduce electronic voting several decades ago under Eric Williams? As I said, I was not thought. I didn't come along until almost 3 decades later. But anyway, for those of you who were there, remind me, didn't that happen? Well, let me remind Captain Griffith, right? Since he's not aware of what happened the last time a PNM government attempted to do just that, what he is now advocating. Voting machines come to TNT. The use of voting machines in the 1961 general elections was one of the big pre-independence issues. The opposition Democratic Labour Party was against the use of the machines and wanted them physically destroyed. The governing party, the People's National Movement, and its leader, Dr. Eric Williams, was determined to introduce the new system. 1961, right? So we're talking 6 decades ago. 6 decades. Over 60 years ago. When the matter came up for debate, Dr. Patrick Solomon, leader of government business in the House and Minister of Home Affairs, announced, "We are going to purchase voting machines. And if anyone did not like it, they just had to take it, or perhaps they could accept Dr. Williams' advice and get the hell out of here." Trinidad and Tobago became an independent nation in 1962, based on the results of a general election held on December 4th, 1961. Using voting machines, 20 seats went to the PNM and 10 went to the opposition DLP. The introduction of voting machines made Trinidad and Tobago one of 2 countries in the world to replace voting by the trusted ballot system. Let me repeat that. The introduction of voting machines made Trinidad and Tobago one of 2 countries in the world, not the Caribbean, the world, to replace voting by the trusted ballot system with machines. The other country was the United States of America, where it was used in certain areas. Today, in the United States of America, it still exists. Right? That's what they use. All right. The change in the voting system brought on the ire of the opposition DLP, which claimed it was a measure introduced by the PNM to stay in power after they were defeated in the federal elections in 1958. The government led by Premier Dr. Eric Williams was determined to develop a new electoral system which involved permanent personal registration, identification cards, printing machines, and other related items. This is 6 decades ago. The opposition DLP had no other means to fight the issue except by holding public meetings designed to force the government to abandon the idea and return to the ballot box. As the party continued its relentless campaign against the use of the machines, Dr. Rujanat Kapildeo, leader of the DLP, in a public meeting, called for 1,000 men to come forward and smash the 1,000 machines. It seemed, however, that although many people disapproved of the voting machines, no one was prepared to give such tangible proof of disapproval. So in other words, he couldn't find the 1,000 men to come and smash the 1,000 voting machines. Several experts gave their views on the machines. George Abrams, chief investigator of the US-based group calling itself Honest Ballot Association, was quoted as saying, Voting machines run by honest people can be fraud-proof, but any machine in the hands of crooks is not. And to hold that the voting machines are infallible is no more supportable than to insist that money cannot be stolen from cash registers. As the debate continued, Solomon said in the Legislative Council, the machines will be introduced to prevent election malpractices, and it is well known that even before an election is held, there was padding of the electoral list, bogus registrations, and so on, and corrupt activities. And this is Dr. Solomon saying that, right? Padding of the electoral list, bogus registrations, intimidation, terrorism, corrupt activities on the part of enumerators. According to Solomon, the problems of pre-election malpractices can only be solved by permanent personal registration and by identification cards, but even that was not enough. What we need is a new system that will represent the will of the people and not those fighting for power. The new system costs a lot of money. The voting machines alone cost over $2 million. Training of operators and maintenance and security also costs a lot of money. Francis Farrell, supervisor of elections at the time, said the total cost is little over $3.25 million. In the end, the cost of the 1961 election was over $5 million. The results of the election had been forecast by government members on many platforms. The government won 20 seats and the opposition 10. The matter concerning the use of machines was again brought up when a delegation comprising members of the government and the opposition thrashed out the problem of independence at Marlborough House in London. There was a deadlock between government and opposition over the method of voting. The impasse, however, was broken when Dr. Williams said he would consult with the opposition before a final decision was taken on the method of voting to be used in future elections. And in the 1966 elections, the government won 24 of the 36 seats contested. The results of the election showed several flaws in the system. In his victory speech at Woodford Square, Williams said an inquiry would be held into changes or charges of irregularities at the polls. The opposition party then took a decision that they would not speak on motions brought to Parliament. Calypsonian, the mighty sparrow, had his say on the issue and warned Williams and Calypso that his party would have to fight elections by themselves if the ballot box was returned. In 1976, general elections were historic in that the ballot box was used again and the voting age reduced to 18 years. So it's not now the UNC, and the predecessors have been obstructionists. So when I read Captain Audacity talking about we need to switch to electronic voting and so on, somebody tell Captain Audacity this was tried 60 years ago. Captain Audacity. 63 years ago. And what was the then version of the UNC, as I just read for you guys, opposed it, and what they did? They said, mash up the machines. We ain't having that. No. I wonder if it's because they had their people inside working in the ABC, or whatever it was called back then. And they realized, we want 1,000 men to come and mash up the boxes. The party of today, right? The successor to that party, they any different? Any different 6 decades later, and they're even worse than what existed back then. Yeah, come and mash up the machines. Look at the extent to which they go. We want 1,000 men. You couldn't find 1,000 men. You didn't need 1,000 men. You could have got less than that. Mash up as many as you could. Yeah. Bunch of jokers. But Captain Audacity wanted to talk about implement and accusing anyway. Lord Father have mercy, yes. So he vexed with the Prime Minister because the Prime Minister is telling returning officers that they are not to abide by that. But at the end of the day, the 41 returning officers are not persons who are fixed, meaning it's not that you have the EBC has 41 returning officers on their payroll that Dr. Rowley is speaking to. These are not career public servants. These are people who would be hired when an election is called to work. So even if Moto Mouth, Captain Audacity want to come and say, well, the Prime Minister want to tell the returning officers what to do. There are no returning officers at this time. There is no election. These are not people who are permanently on the staff of the ABC. So the Prime Minister says that who are we talking to? Who is he speaking to? The Prime Minister is making a general statement. He is not telling public servants, do not obey the dictates of the EBC. There are no returning officers at this time. And unless and until another election is called, there will be none. So what is Griffith's issue or the Prime Minister trying to control the EBC and he has the audacity to tell the returning officers not to. Seriously? Again, this man, Dr. Rowley, living rent-free in this man's head. Dr. Rowley moved from a studio apartment to now he living in a mansion in Gary Griffith Head. A mansion. The kind of property tax Dr. Rowley had to be paying for being inside there. It's amazing. Everything, every opportunity he gets is Rowley this and Rowley that. If it's not Rowley, it's Hines. If it's not Hines, it's Zula. This man carrying a banker for this commissioner work is unprecedented. That borders on narcissistic. But then I've heard people say, you describe him as such. But, oh gosh, boy. Come now, man. You have a son. You have children. Relax yourself. You have businesses to run. Every day, only like a mosquito. Rowley this and Rowley that and Rowley and Rowley and Rowley. That is not going to help you. It didn't help you all in the last local government election. Jack is back. Gary the Great. OWTU. And still you couldn't help the UNC. Come on now, man. Ah, boy. I tell you. So, my God, I say. See, timeless 7:29. Okay. Somebody need to talk to this man, yes? Nicole, you need to do something. Talk to your husband, please. Jeez, boy. Listen, you get this other one. Let's move over to something a little more pleasant. Morning to Brian. Morning to Angie Madatuna Puna. Something a little more pleasant. MILAT plans to include programs for girls, right? The military-led academic training program plans to include girls and young women as it expands students in its care. Chief Human Capital Development Officer of the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service, Gashel Jilks Edwards, revealed this to The Guardian yesterday, with the understanding that we have females that will also benefit from this type of programmatic activity. MILAT Program Director Lieutenant Anthony Goddard added that officials always wanted to help guide and train young women and girls. Lieutenant Goddard said there was a need for social intervention programs for females, and MILAT was prepared given the mandate. The facilities, and the funding to assist with the venture. Goddard and Jilks Edwards were attending the Coalition Against Domestic Violence and MILAT Colors of Peace, Young Men Confronting Gender-Based Violence, art exhibition at the campus on Mausika Road yesterday. She also revealed there was a plan to increase the intake at the Civilian Conservation Corps program, which currently has 900 students. MILAT has a cohort of 200. We have a suite of programs. MILAT is one of our diversionary programs that fall under our Specialized Youth Service Programs umbrella. And it is our intention that the CCC program will go up by an additional 200 persons in the next fiscal, with conversations for even a further expansion, understanding of the need. So they're going to increase from 200 to 400. She also mentioned that the MyDNS was working on a plan for a program to accommodate students who were expelled from school. We are also completing the proposal to capture that particular audience to engage those persons as well. Jilks Edwards explained that the program will be another reorientation program under the SYSP. So, as it stands right now, the MILAT MyPath program, as we know, is for males only. But Foster Cummings did indicate sometime, I think earlier this year or late last year, the government's intention may have been during his contribution to the budget to expand MILAT to now facilitate females as well. He did mention that they intended to outfit premises where the girls would stay, right? And of course, they now have premises, or they've had premises where the current cohort of persons stay. Now, when I saw this article yesterday, of course, I decided to go into the comments to read what were the views of the public. And as was to be expected, the members of the Fully Done's, anything that is intended to assist the youth in this country positively and could probably promote support of the People's National Movement, they have a problem with. So I'm going through the comments, and I saw one person, a friend of mine who I know is partial to the UNC, he first posted it, and with the caption "Disaster in 3, 2, 1." Right? And when they went to, rather than commend this initiative, one of many that is being rolled out by the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service. And I think I heard Foster Cummins when he was speaking, when he gave the feature address. I think it was at the Arima, the PNM Arima constituency when they had their conference. I think that's where he made mention of this, and he did indicate, the Prime Minister had given the mandate, and it was the intention of the government that persons who pass through this program, that it would provide an opportunity for those who are desirous of joining the police, the Coast Guard, the Defense Force, that this program would assist them, the Air Guard, and so on. So it's not just you come, you do the course for 2-3 years, which is a living facility, and then after that you leave, right? So because you're getting military training, so it makes sense that you put it to use, practical use, right? And since we're looking for, especially in police service, we are looking for persons who have that discipline, and the persons who coming into the service not because are looking for work, or they have 2-3 men I want to slap up, put some hard cuff on, and they can't do nothing, so I go in and join the police service, right? We know there's some like that in there. But if we use the MILAT program, so where these young folks would be trained, they would get that training in discipline in particular, build a sense of pride for their country, right? A sense of duty. This is the type of people that we want to come into the police service, and by extension, the other services, fire and whoever else, right? To populate these services, these people that have that level of discipline. Maybe we could train them in customer service too, because that's a problem that we have in some of these entities anyway. But I go into the comments, and all I'm seeing is, you have to protect them girls and them, yes? Look how we going and see an increase in pregnancy. Well, look thing now. Look, the government going and create a field day for all them man and them who conducting the program. Yeah, that's the kind of comments that you're seeing. Well, boy, look, would go in and share. All kind of talk like that. They could see no positives. The first thing that comes to their mind is that these young ladies will be taken advantage of by the whoever are the persons conducting the program. That's all. The comments. No congratulations, no well done, nothing. All they could focus on. The first thing that comes to the sick minds is that, yeah, we're going to see, look at pregnancy. Look at abuse going and take place. But the last I checked, there are women in the police service, not so? And these women are required to, I think the training period is about 6 months, right? And they live in dormitories and the police academy, right? And we have women in the defense force too right now. Right? And they live in, right? That's also a live-in training program too. We have women in the Coast Guard, not so? We have women in the fire services, not so? How many cases have we heard of abuse? How many? And last I checked, you could enter these 18 is the earliest age at which you could enter, around the same age that these young women will be joining the MILAT. So I just asking the question. So we can have all these other existing services that have women. We know that abuse. But come to with the MILAT program now, and the only thing that these sickos could think about is a bad idea, because you will have an increase in pregnancies with respect to those who participate in the exercise. Yes, and Joyce didn't say the Air Guard as well. So many opportunities. This government continues on a daily basis to look for opportunities, ways, and means to provide for the young people of this country, so that when they finish school, it is no longer what existed before. So you get your passes, and then you're writing a set of resumes and sending it out, applications, sending to this company, that company, and sit down hoping that you get a call for an interview. The government is saying, let us be proactive. Instead of looking for a job, let's help you to be able to create your own job. You want to be an entrepreneur, you have a business idea, you know the government has these programs in place now. So even while you're in Form 4, Form 3, Form 5, you're going into lower and upper 6, you should start looking into these programs to see what would interest you. Some people decide, I want to take a gap year, right? I went to primary school, I went to secondary school, and I finished after all these years of schooling, I need to take a year break. Government is saying we have courses that you could take even if you want to go to university. come and do one of the courses, some of these courses that are for 6 months, and you get in a stipend where you could learn to operate crane, heavy machinery, and all of that. And maybe that might stir up in you some desire to become an entrepreneur. You want to consider the agriculture program, you could do that. It's for 2 years. And even there's nothing, if you leave school at 18, at 20 years old, you did the program, you have 2 acres of land, you start a home, you're getting $20,000. And if you decide at that age, after you finish this program, that you want to go and study something else, you could, nobody's stopping you. But at least you would have this as a fallback. You could do more than one. This is what the government is saying. We're providing all these opportunities, but they're still on the other side talking about we will create 55,000 jobs and 55,000 jobs. So go through the manifesto. There is nothing in the UNC manifesto that compares to what the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service offers or has on offer for these young people. Absolutely nothing. But then you have fools like Philip Alexander come and tell you Kamala Persad-Bissessar delivered and she was the most effective prime minister ever in the history of this country. Again, I'll go through your manifesto. Show me where, what do you have in here that could compare to what the Ministry of Youth Development? And this is one of the concerns when I interviewed Foster Cummins last year on Synergy. And I asked the question, so what do you all have in place? So in the event that the PNM doesn't win in 2025, to ensure that the UNC doesn't come in and mash up these programs because of that PNM thing. Right? Because those young people who would be involved in these programs and who have become invested, what are you going to put in place to ensure that they're not going to find themselves midway, the program stop? Because we know on that other side, they're nasty like that. Because that wasn't their idea. They will come in and do that because they don't want any allegiances to the PNM while under them, because they lack ideas. What do you all have in place to ensure that if the UNC comes in 2025, that the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service will still exist, that they wouldn't get rid of it? And he indicated they are putting certain entities in place, special entities in place, that will ensure that these programs continue even if the citizens of this country play fast and loose with their vote. Play fast and loose with their vote and decide that they're not going to support the PNM. But understand what is at stake, and as Jenny said, she understands the assignment. The future of our young people between the ages of 18 and 35 who have embraced these projects and embraced these programs that the government is offering them, and who see a future in it. Your vote is critical. They have votes too. But your vote is critical to ensure that these programs remain and that ministry continues. And if the only thing they could have come up with when they were in office was live sport, Color Me Orange, Hoop of Life, short-term things, right? Color Me Orange was 3 months, paid some derelict buildings for $69 a day. That's what they had on offer. Live sport, well, we know the saga that I don't need to rehash it. Hoop of Life, millions of dollars spelled out. Shaquille O'Neal come down here and he gets $10 million to lift up Kamala so that she could dunk her ball. He was the biggest beneficiary of Hoop of Life. The rest of them, the people, they went Lavantil and stuff and they had this program. They spent a certain money to rent vehicles, over $2 million to rent high-end vehicles for the directors of the program. And the persons who benefited the least were those who should have benefited the most. Nothing sustainable. That's all they do. They hold this 6 months program and hold this 3 months program. But here it is that you have the Ministry of Youth Development is rolling out programs on a consistent basis that has sustainability. And even when the young people complete it, the sustainability now is converted into employment, where if they want, they could become employed or they could start their own business. And that is where the focus is. So if that alone, and there should be more, we need to be talking more about these things. But unfortunately, the forum for discussing that is limited. You know why? Because in the other place, that radio station, which was one of the main places, the main forum where we could have discussed this thing with a wide listenership. You go on YouTube in the evening and you pull up that station and you have over 500 people tuned in, listening to garbage, listening to lies, propaganda, stupid talk. I am amazed by that because someone sent me a message yesterday in YouTube and saying that this waste of time program on that station that just a couple months ago was struggling to get 89 viewers. Over 500 viewers now. People, you actually have people who looking forward to that. Looking forward to these two clowns. The Dumb and Dumber show. They call it D&D show. Right? Yeah, so I heard somebody call it that yesterday, the D&D show in the afternoon. And imagine their listenership is growing because you have persons with an appetite for that, who don't want to hear truth. Because you're so intent on hating the PNM and hating Rowley, and I hate him, but that you will go and listen to that foolishness and propaganda without doing any research and then go and parrot it and repeat that. When these two men have demonstrated time and time again that they're clueless, that they're dumb as an ox, and that is an insult to ox everywhere. Foolish. I don't even listen to that trash anymore. Now and again, I might see somebody post a little short clip. I don't have I just cannot listen to that. And I'm amazed how people, so many people following that. So many people waiting, and then when you listen to some of the callers too, they're just as dotish. Yesterday I just happened to be listening to Daily Voice between 2 and 4. And I'm hearing some people calling and talking rubbish about, oh, you have people so dotish by supporting the PNM and all that. Because apparently Marvin Gonzalez was on Google's program yesterday. And he came to talk about, what's happening in his ministry and some of the accomplishments. And you have people vexed with Marvin Gonzalez because he come to talk. When the minister's not performing, you're chastising them. But when they're performing, what you coming and talk about that for? That you work, that you getting paid for. He coming to big up each or something, and there's a fashion show. I see them two men sit down there, and if you see them, but they really trim up and all kind of thing. But I see was Miss Universe. Idiocy of the people who. So the government shouldn't talk about the things. So you all keep saying they ain't doing nothing, and the government ain't doing nothing. And after 9 years, nothing has been done, but things are happening. And when they come to talk about it, you're like, oh, they're just doing their work. So they shouldn't come and talk about that, right? But every day in, day out, a man called Living Lavantil and he say, well, they haven't had water in how many weeks or whatever it is. You focus on that. You want to chastise the minister for that. But the other things that the minister has done and the ministry has done to bring relief, water relief for people all over this country. You notice we don't see so many protests again, which is burning tire and all kind of thing in the road and blocking road for water. The number of protests like that has significantly decreased. But nobody talking about that. Nobody talking about that. In fact, the number of protests that we see for bad roads has also decreased because the ministries are doing their work. The Manzanilla Road that they talk all kind of thing about. When we see the work the other day, Rohan Sinanan decided he and his and some of the technocrats from his ministry went to visit the work. They took some pictures and so on. Well, boy, they fully dance, but beside themselves. Oh, they're showing pictures and thinking, they want applause for that, how can I say? But that's what they're supposed to do. That's what the government's supposed to do. That's what they are. They get elected for. But when they're not doing it, you're all criticizing. You have plenty to say. So they need to show you all that it is being done. And all the work that has been done to avoid, because if it is Suraj Rambachan had done it correctly, if he had done what Rohan Sinanan has done in the last few months, then we wouldn't have had that problem last year or the year before. You wouldn't have had that problem. But no, give contract to your friend to do rubbish. So when it happens again, you'll get another contract to do rubbish again. But this time, the ministry under Rohan Sinanan, under the PNM, is making sure that they do it correct. They have an issue with that. When the temporary road was done last year, we had that road like the Bocas, boy. They spent how much millions of dollars and look at the state of the road already. Quick to run all your mouth about that. But when it is the road is properly fixed, nothing to say. All you're quiet. When the ministry decides to showcase, you have an issue with that. Keep all your mouth shut if you have nothing good to say. You want this done, you want that done, and when it is being done, well, you have a problem with the government highlighting it. Focus on that. Where is Rushton Parry? Where is he? Where is Rai Ragbir? To go and talk about that. I'm not interested in doing that. Yeah? But if it is that the road was in a mess, we would have seen pictures, you would have heard them, they call in every media house to come and see. Come and see the state of the road. But it fixed now, you ain't calling no media house to come and see. No kudos to the minister and the ministry. Before the line, let us touch on this quickly. And I keep seeing too many of these comments. Too many. Let's know. Let me see if I get this here. Trying to remember what the post was about. Interesting, I see. Former Moruga Tableland MP Dr. Lavelle Francis has written the PNM's Moruga Tableland Party Group Chairman, expressing willingness to be considered for nomination for general election candidacy in that constituency. Okay, we'll see how that develops. This one. Let me just get this here. Where is it? Where is it? Right. Let me just touch on this quickly. So the UNC have been posting up, and I see this posting up a lot on Kamla Prasad Bissasa's Facebook page. They have these little memes they're putting out. Food prices up, gas prices up, diesel prices up, electricity rates up, but the economy is doing well. Call me Bert. Make it make sense. Right? So let me just show you. They have these. This is what the lighting on it, but this is what it looks like, right? That's what it looks like. So Kamla Prasad says I've been seeing a lot of posts like that on her Facebook page. So they're telling you all the different things in Bert City economy doing well, but this is right. So I saw this yesterday, posted, and as usual, I decided to read the comments. And there were 3 comments in particular, or 4, that stood out for me. The first comment was by a gentleman by the name of Riaz Mohammed, and reads, and people will still vote for them come next election. So someone says, so vote for the UNC who doesn't care about people with slave masters' names. Riaz replies, at least things was better under them. Was better off under them. This is the mindset. Ask them how it was better off, but anyway. But there was a particular comment. And as I said, I keep seeing a lot of these. So let me just read this here. So a gentleman by the name of Matthew Harry, let me read his comment. So someone by the name of Rishma Ramnarayan, she had commented. Let me see if I get her comment here. This one. Right. Rishma Ramnarayan's comment was, the economy only doing well for PNM supporters. Here what Matthew Harry's response was to Rishma Ramnarayan. Well, exactly how most of them like it. They don't work. They don't pay bills. They don't contribute to taxes. They get food stamps. I wasn't aware that they still had food stamps. They don't take care of their children. They don't send their children to school. All they're doing is raising criminals, stressing out the hardworking population, just like this PNM government, right? So I responded and I told them, I said, this is the type of idiocy that will ensure your party remains in perpetual opposition. To which his response was, my party, I do not support the UNC and will never support a tyranny government like the dirty PNM. So I have an issue with, yes, and this is the mindset. And so when I listen to people like Kingsley, who supported that party, and people like Kunji, let me just read that again. Well, exactly how most of them like it, they don't work. So this is the mindset they have of PNM supporters. They don't work, they don't pay bills, they don't contribute to taxes, they get food stamps, they don't care to send their children to school, they don't take care of their children, all they're doing is raising criminals and stressing the hardworking population. But they expect to get your same PNM vote come next election, right? To vote for the UNC. We're talking, this is the decade of persons of African descent. And we know they have it in their mindset that the majority of people who support the PNM are persons of African descent. So when it is that they make statements like this, we know they're not just talking about people who support the PNM. That is the mindset that they have. And it upsets me when I see things like this. And I try my best most times not to engage them, right? Because I don't curse, I don't use profanity. But one of these days, I don't know. Because they're just getting more and more ridiculous. They have no respect. These generalizations that they make. This next clown in Shan Ishmael who always likes to talk about PNM people thieving electricity and PNM people this and PNM people that. And I keep saying he should put up a sign outside all of his businesses, letting PNM people know how he feels about them, especially his restaurant, Brilliant, so that if any PNM person could go out of their collective thoughts and decide that they want to come and support your restaurant, they will be reminded of how you feel about them. They never get my support. But anyway, let me just see this here, right? Now, I know Brian had asked me to touch on Mala Dukaran. I don't know if some of you saw she put out there was an article about some report that she did, claiming that 25 billion US dollars goes missing from Trinidad and Tobago every year. Now, I can't really get into it in detail, again, because of time. But I saw The Guardian had an editorial. There is no easy explaining away or hiding from the findings of local economist Mala Dukaran as to how and why Trinidad and Tobago has become an economy which cannot account for an annual leakage of US $2 billion going back more than 10 years. It just disappears and nobody has been able to account for it ever, said the economist. The economist says for the past 12 years, 25 billion has gone missing using data produced by the IMF. Dukaran shows a net outflow of foreign exchange that we cannot account for of US 23 billion, with the additional 2 billion coming from the data of the central bank. She says on a per capita basis, that means dividing the losses of the hard currency by the size of the population. Meaning if we take errors and omissions losses and divide it by the country's population, we have lost the most globally. You see, when they like to use these per capita calculations, in the past, the economists, people of the country, the government, the central bank, the commercial banks, and generally analysts examining the leakage of forex have concentrated on placing it in the nature of the import-dependent economy. In this respect, the large food import bill, the high citizen spending through the use of credit cards, whatnot. This said to be unaccounted for disappearance of US $2 billion per year, beginning in 2011, 2012. Allegedly without there being knowledge of how, where, and by whom is starting. This is not an issue of what are referred to as errors and omissions in the accounting procedures, which may happen occasionally in the budgets sent to the Auditor General and generally of an inconsequential sum. This is an accounting system which cannot account for an annual $2 billion. There's another level of analysis which, if is correct, is very troubling. According to Dukaran, the disappearance of the foreign exchange has sent the country headlong into deep borrowing and utilization of savings and earnings from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund to service the forex needs. If the government could not turn to such sources of forex, the economist notes that the country's foreign reserves as at March 2024 would have amounted to no more than US 157 million, rather than the present 5.98 billion. I think I read somewhere that Dr. Rowley responded to this and he referred to it as jackassness. I haven't been able to find any reports, right? So I want to find that. So Brian, forgive me. I know you wanted me to deal with this so that you could address it on Saturday morning. But let me just do a little more research into it, because just based on what I've read from Ms. Dukaran's position, and to some extent I am minded to agree with the Prime Minister, because we're talking about $2 billion US dollars in hard currency, right? Hard currency meaning cash. We're talking about electronic transfers. So I fail to see 2 billion, not 2 million, not 20 million, not 200 million, $2 billion in hard currency. So first of all, I would like to know which sector that 2 billion is coming from, right? And how do we get that much foreign currency, hard currency, into the country? I'm confused, because when I read her article, basically she's saying that there's two main ways that the money would leave the country, which is in hard currency or in jewelry, precious metals, and so on. But again, I'm confused, because I know there are limits as to how much US you could take out of the country, how much US you could bring into the country. We know that, right? So, and we know in the US, even though they have the sniffer dogs and stuff, that you run the risk of being caught. And I'm speaking here for somebody who has seen that firsthand. And I recall some years ago when I was in transit through New York en route to China, and we were boarding the plane, to China. And there was this lady standing in front of me, and the Customs and Border Patrol came with the sniffer dogs, right? And I was surprised that when the dog comes and he's sniffing the woman's handbag, so they tell her, yeah, y'all just don't worry, and the dog going person to person. And when they reach to this lady, the dog sniffs her handbag, and he starts to make a little, and the Customs and Border Patrol officer, he says, ma'am, do you have more than 10,000 US cash in your possession? And she said yes. Of course, he asked her to step out of the line. So the dog was able to detect that she had more than 10,000 US cash in her possession, in her bag. Yeah. So if you're trying to do that, it's just like somebody trying to smuggle cocaine out of the country or some kind of illegal drugs. There are ways that these things can be detected. So if Ms. Dukaran is implying that the money is leaving the country, first of all, I would love to know where it's coming in. Now, if you want to tell me that it's coming in through illegal sources, through pirogues in the dead of the night, then that would not be part of the formal economy, right? So it wouldn't be recorded in the formal economy because there's no record of it. If it's coming in crocus bags on pirogues in the dead of the night, it's not like it's going to enter the system. And even if they try to launder it through the official system in the banks, if you go in the bank with a significant sum of US, they're asking you questions. Where you get that from? Because we have a shortage. So where you get that from? If you can walk in the bank with 20,000 US in cash and the bank not going to ask questions, they have to fill out source of funds and all of that, and you need to provide proof. Then just taking your word for it, you need to provide proof. So if there is such a leakage, I would posit it didn't go anywhere. It's right here because we have a thriving black market economy for US dollars. People who can't get US, you have businessmen talking all the time how they have to go to the black market and they pay $8 and $8.50 on the black market. Where the black market getting it from? Where they getting it from? Dr. Rowley has spoken on this. Colin Wood has spoken about this, that there are persons who are deliberately hoarding foreign exchange, hoping to put stress on the system and force the government hand to devalue the TT dollar so that then they could come and flood the market and make a profit. So all who go into the banks and who might be fortunate to get wherever it is that they're getting it. And waiting, sit down waiting. One of the things that I found interesting in Ms. Dukaran's article is where she made mention that the largest leakage took place in 2013, was it? 2012, 2013, of 4.5 billion US in that year alone. And then she went on to talk about, she finds it's not, what's the term she used, boy? Anyway, I will deal with that on Sunday. She doesn't think it a coincidence that this leakage started when the former administration started direct flights to places like Panama. Yeah, Panama. Who in Panama? The Beetham wastewater treatment plant man in Panama. Yeah, that's what she said, Mala Dukaran. As soon as they start direct flights to Panama, all of a sudden you see these leakages started in large quantities. And that the largest leakage took place under that former administration. But the fully done and talking about that, I wonder why. They don't want to touch Mala Dukaran's article with a 100-foot pole because there are things inside that article that implicates their party between 2010 to 2015. And rather than raise a hornet's nest, let me leave that alone. Let me leave that. They ain't talking about it. Well, they don't want to talk about it, we will talk about it. So Brian, bear with me. Sunday, we'll get into it. And I'll have a discussion with my partner Tahak and we will thrash it out and so on. Yes? So I know he listens. 70763. Anon says the tyranny government where they are the run for all the grants, fill up courses before others, etc. They are sly. So true. So true. Hold 1 second for me, Kuba. Set this off. So 1 sec. Let's make a switch. So let me just connect this thing here. Right. Should be good to go there. Hello, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Dr.
Morning.
Are you hearing me?
Loud and clear.
You know something, Trump and Kamala, same man person, right? Trump and Kamala, same man person.
Yes.
They always go for a juggler when they have no issues. Kamala plagiarized the speech from the Prime Minister of England when Biden won.
Mm-hmm.
Trump plagiarized his speech from a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Was a pickup class, right?
Mm.
And I laughed aloud and they were saying I was crazy.
Uh-huh.
You always have spies in your camp after the fact. If you don't know who you have in a small party, how the heck you're going to govern a nation of 1.3 million plus? She's serious. If you have 2 children, Dominic, and you don't want in your household, you can't teach them. You can teach students. It's a spy for this and a spy for that. Kamala, I'm going to have a app called a spy after the done.
Mm-hmm.
She's inept. And Gary Griffith G-string minor go to Gaza men. Pierre is a happy married man. Leave the man alone. He's in love with his wife. If you swing that way, you swing that way. Come out the closet. Every single is an issue. Pierre will discuss something, and like a shadow, if it has to come. Now, where's Aaron Roberts these days? Where is he these days? Hiding somewhere?
He's apparently he's commenting for the Olympics for one of those stations.
I'm watching it how his people live in the party, right?
Mm-hmm.
He said that PNM will implode. And in Bolivia, your party is the Humpty Dumpty of TNT because every 5 minutes somebody leaves. You prophesy your own doom. And I hope my Malta with Travis Chauvin did this come out, yeah? I hope it is done. You know why? We some are left behind. And Foster Cummings is a progressive man. He's pushing the nation forward in what he does. And for nothing, and all them who naysayers, it is because the grapes edged the teeth. They had no thought about it. So they want to destroy what they cannot build. Young people, come next year. Remember what government has done for you. How they're making roads for you and creating jobs. They're making you your own boss. Do not take shade up and old talk from the wholesale fools in yellow. Be wise. To Dominic and to Jenny, Mr. and Brian, because they have wisdom among them, and it's collective wisdom. Study hard and be the diamond and be the platinum you are called to be. Be great. Have a good day. Bye-bye now.
Bye-bye. Bye. Jenny, morning.
Hi, morning, Dominic.
Morning.
Morning to all those who are logged on, listening, and who are going to call. I just want to answer Delano James. It is he was saying that TTRA and custom officers had to reapply for the jobs. They didn't have to reapply, Delano. What happened? They had 3 choices. Either that they be absorbed within the wider public service, accept VSEP, or that they go under the TTRA, they go in with all the terms and conditions of employment that they enjoy in the public service in that entity. So it's not about a reapplying. So they have 3 choices. And again, it is very challenging and difficult to say that an employer cannot remodernize or restructure their business in the interest of making profit or whatever this reason they may have. And that is where it is with the government and the TTRA saying that under customs and tax and what do you call that place? BIR and that because of the revenue collection is not where it's supposed to be, they decided to do XYZ. Whether you agree or not, it is an employer's prerogative to restructure the business. Once it's done in a way that is in keeping with the regulations and laws, that is where it's at. So it's the same thing like WASA. When PSA took WASA and the Minister of Public Utilities to court, it went, I think, to Privy Council because the government wants to restructure WASA and they would have lost that case. WASA has been given the green light to restructure. With the situation with this Mark Ramricker saying, I was listening because I forgot to say he was going to be on this morning. So I was listening to the program on 91.9 with the Abu Bakr gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's very myopic in his view on that topic because he started to speak about campaign financing and that he don't want to talk about that EBC situation. And I'll tell you how that is a farce. Because these little things you just let slide us end up big things. You're telling me the EBC chairman has come and made a decision. He has not discussed it with no other political party who will have an invested interest in elections because that is what political parties fight, elections. Mm-hmm. Whether you're a big political party or medium-sized or large. We already know the 2 largest are the People's National Movement, UNC, but there are other parties. No discussions was held with them. And you are telling us now that the returning officers, where there's nothing that states on the application for the job when they're applying that you have to declare as a who political party that you're affiliated to in order for you to get the work. So when Dr. Rowley said that to tell you whoever it is applying for that position, they don't have to declare. He's very correct because there's nothing that says that you have to. So if you're not mandated to, you could refuse not to. But the bigger issue is this. Having these persons declare their political affiliation, if that is allowed to happen, Dominic, as a person in labor, it sets a dangerous precedent. Simply that any employer could mandate a worker, potential worker, to state who you are and who you support. And soon it may go to what race you are, you can't work here. Because these little things get out of hand. And if this is allowed to happen, as I said, then you leave workers on the outside susceptible to victimization because they have to declare who they support. So if I'm a boss and I support the UNC, you come in my establishment to work and I ask you, who do you support politically? And you say that you support the PNM. That employer could afford to tell that employee, well, you cannot work here because your political support is not in alignment with mine. And those things are real cases. And you know they'll go back to when people challenge them, the EBC case, where the EBC told a couple of workers in that position, the returning officers, to declare who they support. So that is a dangerous thing to happen. Not only that, you're setting up these officers for potential victimization. But it goes even further than that. When they declare, so if it's 100 of them or 200 of them would have applied for the position, and they all declare who they support, and 150 declare that they support the People's National Movement, where are you going to put them to work? Because then you know what could happen? The UNC and other political parties could say, because the presiding officer was a PNM in this constituency, that we know is a UNC constituency, that something, and the PNM win it, that something went awry because that presiding officer is a PNM. And they may have done things that will favor the PNM instead. Or flip it on the other side. 150 is UNC out of the 200, and they are put in areas that the PNM traditionally wins and the PNM loses. The PNM could now simply say that because these officers are non-UNC operatives, they could turn like that. That is why it happened. So this is a remedy for disaster. Who you vote for is your your private business. That is why they have private booths when you go to vote. Otherwise, there will be no booths and everybody can see you voted for. Because when you go behind here, it is your personal choice. Nobody knows who you vote for. You could campaign with the UNC all the time. And on that day election, you're going to vote PNM or vice versa, because it's your personal choice. So I think if this man was given his instrument of appointment by the president, it should be revoked. Otherwise, we want to know, who does Mark Ramrika Singh support? We want to know politically, and we want to know who the SC, who they support politically. And you know what? People can lie and say, I don't support nobody. And that's another factor. Say the whole 200 of them say, well, we don't support nobody politically. What are you going to do then? You're going to say they're lying? So it makes no sense. And it tells me, it smells just like what happened in the Auditor General's department. Nobody can tell me differently. I come to that conclusion myself. The behavior of the Auditor General, Ms. Jayawanti Ramdas, and the behavior of Mark Ramrika Singh in the Electoral and Boundary Commission, it smells the same way to me. She tried, in my opinion, to create a financial crisis in this country because of the IMF would have given this government a good rating in the sense that first time in 10 years, they saw this trajectory of growth and Moody's and Standard & Poor's. So her not adding that revenue to her report, whether it came late or not, because I haven't heard the central bank workers or the senior public officers dispute what the Minister of Finance said when he said they told him it's a glitch in the new system that created that issue and they were working to treat with it. When the minister tried to reach out to the Auditor General, she refused. When the workers went to speak with her, she refused. And then we have this matter in court. So this is the financial sector, because if now this 2.6 billion is not recorded, the IMF could simply say, no, you all didn't generate any revenue for that period. Moody's and Standard & Poor's could say the same thing and we get downgraded. So let me move to the EBC now. So you want people to declare who they support politically. And to create in the atmosphere this conversation we have here where the UNC already saying they have no faith in the EBC. So you're creating another bacchanal confusion in people's mind that something onto what is going on in the ABC just before the election coming up. I am saying if it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, it quacks like a duck, it is a duck. And UNC, who always behind all these things, all you take sense, follow the nonsense, take the sense, and see what is happening and understand what is at stake come 2025. And don't sit down on all the laurels and go, well, me I like the PNM, I don't like Rowdy. I ain't see my minister, he passed me straight. I went to get a jersey, I ain't get no jersey. You see me ain't going and vote because I don't do nothing. Or say, well, PNM don't win already, so me ain't going and vote. Sit down on all your laurels and let these people come back into this space politically to rule this country again. It will set me back. You hear America balling, they're not going back. They ain't going back to Trump. All I hear the cry out there, we're not going back. It's about the future because Trump wants to carry them back. Well, I'm going to tell you something. The UNC, in my opinion, does follow the Trump rule book to a T. And they will take me back and back. We might even go right back to 1845 when they had now come here. So we know the assignment. Or they tell the children, train everybody, because they know the assignment come 2025, you know, Bauchi, Nenen, who on wheelchair, who on life support, who on whatever it is, they just make sure they bring them, whether they can write, and it's just a thumbprint, and they know what they're voting for. We voted for the Rising Star, we voted for Kamala, all of them. And then they go back home, the children, everybody. But the African community, I ain't going wrong there, not me. It had too much people on there, the line too long. Oh God, the sun hot. I ain't gonna go now, I go later. And when you check yourself, 5:45 reach, and here, you know, oh God, it's too late now for me to go anyway. Get up early that morning, say all your prayers, drink all your tea, make up all your bed, tidy all yourself, and get down to the polling station and vote resoundingly for the People's National Movement. Our future and our children's future and their future, all children is at stake if only allow the UNC to come back into office in this country. Thank you, Dominic, as usual, and everybody have a blessed day.
Thank you, Jen. And the silly things that some people vex with the Prime Minister for. I know somebody who was a staunch PNM supporter. And all of a sudden, I see they start to post some kind of outer timing thing on Facebook. And so I say, well, what's going on here? But I know this is somebody who supports Dr. Rowley, is always in high praise. I contacted the person, I say, well, what's going on with you? To be told, well, the individual, well, you know, they know Dr. Rowley, well, you know, well, they've how did they put it, boy? They're an acquaintance, you know, back then, a few years ago, Dr. Rowley's younger days, there's a Lime and thing, that group of friends and so on. And then the individual, they didn't really link in a while with Dr. Rowley. So they went to some event, Dr. Rowley's there, he's greeting people, and the individual sees Dr. Rowley and goes to him, you know, for a hug and think, everybody to know, well, hey, I know him. And Dr. Rowley just stretched out his hand and shook the person and said, hey, where you going? And walked out. And that person gets so upset about that. So upset because of that. Besides him supporting the PNM, and Dr. Rowley is the worst thing, and he's a dictator, and going on social media and saying, okay, just because you feel you didn't like the way you were greeted. Hubris is what it is. 7701763. Lenroy Cunningham says the persons listening to the Bomb and Bomber show are those who have migrated from the closed ground report. So that is why their viewership has increased. Ah, interesting. No. Patty is not now. It's not our person. Not our person. Yes. Brian, where are you? I know a few people probably didn't think I was going to be on this morning because I was on yesterday. Shell Lambert says, when the Duns won the elections in 2010, did the Duns cost the EBC? Of course not. Had they won in 2015 and 2020, the EBC would be the GOAT, the greatest of all time in the eyes of the Duns. That is very true. Deborah says Wall Street is a prime example. Oh, Lord. He called yesterday Dale's show, and Wall Street continues every bloody time with these false statistics. And I don't know how this man could call himself a professor. Always making this claim that the most amount of impoverished Africans is under this current, as he likes to call it, RPNM, right? The Rowley PNM. That under Kamala Prasad Bissessa, you had more opportunities for persons of African descent. But under Keith Rowley, 26% of the population, the African population, living in poverty, below the poverty line. Somebody needs to tell Wall Street, go and study what's happening in New Jersey where you live, right? Where you have over 1 million persons living under the poverty line. We're talking on the poverty line, below the poverty line in the great US of A, where they could print money, right? They could print money, where billions of dollars are being sent to Ukraine and billions of dollars are being sent to Israel to fight wars. And meanwhile, in the US of A, where you have people who working hard to pay their taxes, right? Don't know where the next meal coming from. Some of them living paycheck to paycheck. You have persons who aren't able to afford insulin and rationing their insulin. That is a common phenomenon in the United States where persons who have diabetes but cannot afford the insulin medication, and when they're supposed to take a certain measurement 3 times a day, some of them taking it twice for the day, or instead they're taking half of what they're supposed to take, half of the dosage that they're supposed to take each time, in an attempt to stretch the insulin until money comes so they could buy more. These are the things. He left Trinidad and Tobago when he was about 17 or so, right? So he's never paid any taxes, never worked in this country, never paid any taxes. Not one dime of tax in Trinidad, but always have the most to say about what is happening here. But wouldn't talk about the country where he has lived for most of his life. The country that he has paid all of his taxes to. So he paying property tax, right? Religiously pays his property tax every year, but have a problem with this administration wanting to implement property tax. You know why you're paying property tax in New Jersey and what it goes to. But you want to come here and bad talk this government because they want to implement something that you have abided by your entire adult life, since you first purchased your property till now, and will continue to pay until you're dead. And even then, whoever he leaves his property to, they will have to continue to pay it. But he has issues and wants to come and bump his, and this is the issue I have with people like him. You vexed, and he's another one, you know, just as I told you all just now. He's another one. You vexed with Dr. Rowley simply because you wanted a building and the government didn't give you. Right? And you figured when Dr. Rowley went to New York when he was opposition leader, and you're boasting where you rented a Mercedes-Benz for the entourage, and you pick up Dr. Rowley with Mercedes-Benz and carry him to New York, and then you have the stock exchange and all kind of thing, and then you invited him to your house, and you gave him the best food and the best alcohol and your best cutlery and all of that. He had the granular details that he want to go to. He provided Dr. Rowley with the best cutlery. So you bring out your best knife and fork that you have in the buffet in the corner. You're saving for special guests and all of that, and figure because you did that Dr. Rowley is supposed to be eternally grateful to you and give you this building. Hey, watch it, look all the day. You do what you want with that building. Idiot. Anyway. Hello, good morning. Hello.
Hey, good morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
You know, on that point you were on there, the thing about these people is that these people will never admit to themselves that what we have done with our, particularly in after the exploitation of natural gas began in earnest.
Yes.
With the LNG project, is that the revenues we have derived from this, nobody can say that they have not been used well. And that individual you're speaking about, in his country, nowhere has free education from tertiary to tertiary.
Correct.
Nowhere has no support for the elderly and even the mendicant and so on. In fact, people who suggest such programs over there are called the radical left. As the new vice presidential running mate of Miss Harris's, because in his state, for the first time, children have free lunches, free meals in statewide. So that's a radical idea to provide children with feeding. You know, I often watch an advertisement on their media where this actor Jeff Bridges they're promoting a program for children to have meals while they're in school and so on. And I mean, it's a pity that the two children that they show look like us.
Yes.
But they still listen. If it wasn't for this program, me and my brother wouldn't have anything to eat. And you see the mother there shedding tears and so on, right? Because of the fact that, you know, she because of how she had to work 3 jobs. But they wouldn't talk that, people don't even want to work 1 job for 8 hours, Dominic. What is saying to Fali and over here? We want day work. Right? Meaning that they could go for 6 and by 8 they're back home on the block smoking.
Yes.
But people don't recognize that in America you cannot do that. And this individual knows that, right? But they want to come here and have this air of superiority. I tell people I have no inferiority complex when I don't go anywhere. I was trying to go, yes, they might have better roads, things might work faster and so on. They might have less bureaucracy to deal with. But in terms of the human capital and how we have developed our human capital based on the resources we are second to none. And I wouldn't even, people say that we cannot be Dubai, the Caribbean. No, we do want to be Dubai, the Caribbean. We don't need to create artificial islands and so on for the rich and famous to frolic and play and so on. We have looked for a different model for our tourism product. Rightfully, you understand? Rightfully. And, you know, like I tell people, these places sit on trillions of barrels of aggregate and so on. We never had that And we are an old oil economy. We were among the first countries in the world to start to produce oil and gas in significant quantities and as is a non-renewable commodity. Of course, we would be in the state. You know, I am so glad to hear what AV Drilling said about the oil well and so on. And you know what? What they went to is and they exploited were areas that the multinationals felt were too small for them to and would cost too much, right? And what they told us is that, listen, this is just one of the areas that we have started to explore. And there are other areas that we feel that we will get the oil that is at a greater depth. You know what I'm saying? And the fact is that we have things to exploit, but it needs capitalization. And the thing now is that the state has realized after all these years that there are some things that we do not need to get involved in, and oil exploration is one of them. So I am saying that if we leading the way, perhaps other small producers and maybe some of the multinationals might take a second look at saying, hey, let's look at land-based exploration, right? And see if we have not missed a trick there. So I am saying that we can look forward to even more things coming forward. You know, on the missive about these people, they spoke about the comments on the establishment of the Electoral Girls Youth Camp. You know, there's the same narrative from over 30 years ago when Mr. Robinson, as Prime Minister, then touted the National Service Initiative, right? When the Mahasabha at that time and other reserve leaders said, hey, they want to dollarize the place and so on. How foolish that is. Now, if we say that we want to forge a country where everybody recognizes and appreciates everybody, isn't that the area for that to happen by? You know?
Correct, yeah.
And interestingly, I looked at the launch of that direct apprenticeship program there. Dominic, you saw the ethnicity of the trainees who were there?
Yep.
From the little that I saw, I didn't see the fan to the whole crowd, but when they eventually did a quick moment, the majority of the people were from what ilk, Dominic? And these are the same people who will turn around and say the government is doing nothing, we're doing for the people and them and they're killing me. No, and I use that not to be as a indictment against them, but to our young people who have the technical skills and may want to go into that. Seize the opportunities. The government is doing that for everybody in society. Not just for one group of people, but you see who is coming forward to take all the programs, right? And then we would say they ain't doing nothing for you. And like the two idiots we spoke about earlier, they would come and say they want to send them back to the plantation. So when you send them people to learn these technical skills, where train them to do? To be grease monkeys. But these grease monkeys, once they get the requisite skill, you know what's good about that training, Tom? Is that you can work in any oil sector or gas sector throughout the world.
That's right.
So you may start off in Trinidad and Tobago, but you can end up in Dubai, you can end up in the Far East, you can end up in North America and make US dollars and have a comfortable life for yourself. But the training could start here. Tell me which other part of the world you have that kind of thing going on. But my brother, we have to just keep plugging along. And, you know, like yourself, I get sick of them sometimes. They want to do even read the post on them. But it's again over bearing on your intelligence and your, you know what I mean? It's a sappy energy sometimes. But we had to go forward and thing. And I'm saying to people, one of the biggest things that will revolutionize what we want to do here is when you open up that the solar parks that the government is building and so on. Because what that will do is enable feeder industries to come off of that. And what it will do, it will create less reliance on the current national grid. Right? And people have to realize that opportunities will come from that, because what the intention is to do what? So that light industrial parks around them so that they can create what? new industries, more employment. And these were people that put the mind around. This is not a UNC or PNM thing. This is a Trinidad and Tobago thing for the betterment of all the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Right? So
That's right.
we just have to
That's
buy
right.
into that. Right? My brother, as usual, still in our standing program again. Thanks for the opportunity to contribute and take care.
Thank you, sir. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning.
How are you?
Hi, good man.
Hello.
Yes, sir. I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Dominic. Thanks. How are you?
Good man. Hi, good.
Dominic, let me tell you something. I see people like you, Julia Davy, Shona Wilson, and the assistant Julia Davy, but I have a hard uphill battle to deal with people like those. And I see that story with yesterday with Mr. General.
Yes.
Who taken his baggage and go somewhere to invest. To me, that's a city of blow to this country, you know. We lost out again. And let me go down history. It started even on the day of Mr. Manning. Remember the aluminum salt man? Remember the Mega Farm project?
Yep.
And of course, and not least, one that we lost out. Very important for this country. When we're talking about traffic, the mass transit system. Remember that? They cost Mr. Manning for that, you know. And of course, the beautification of Port of Spain, East Port of Spain. Well, thank goodness Dr. Oli was able to continue the project somewhat. And even that was opposition.
Yes.
I don't know. What's your view with the Topo again?
It's under construction.
It's still, so it's not 80% completed.
I'm not too sure. I know the first phase was completed. So.
And this is the reason why authorities need to send their PR to get an update on these important projects. They could go beat that like a whole drum, like a whole steel pan up in election. And Dominic, it is so hard. You know, I know there's something to talk about. You see, we're going over the crime station in Tobago. But you find it a coincidence that all these crimes started when a particular regime came into power.
Yes.
And they're blaming Trinidadians coming into Tobago. Who are the people who campaign on Western Lugan? Western Lugan people and companies brought in outsiders to campaign for them? Well, you see that? I know you want to talk about that, you know.
In due course.
Because the mantra is the Trinidadians who come into Tobago and pollute things. But they're not talking about what's going on within their own community. Dominic, you have a good day, no?
You too, sir. Thank you. No, the previous caller raised an issue there with respect to the US and the well, how should I put it? So I was listening, and it's not something new. It's something that I've noticed for a while now with respect to, and from as far back as 2016. Yes, 1 second, Jen. As far back as 2016, with respect to the things that people in Trinidad, a lot of people in Trinidad who are opposed to the government, expect and want the government to do for a certain section of the citizenry, right? That they want the government to provide this and do that and so on. That in the US, that the government providing some of these things in certain states is seen as being socialist, and you have a significant percentage of the US population who are opposed to that. So the Kamala Harris's pick Tim Walz as governor would have signed into law, would have created a law that allows for the provision of free school meals, something that we do here, right? And you have people in the US who are opposed to that. who said that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz would, according to Donald Trump, he said that that the minute they get elected, that America will become a communist state, right? Because all they want to do is to create a country that is dependent on the government. And so all the things we want the government to do here and do this and do that, and they every time you see a story pop up with some poor family or something, CNC3 loves to carry these human interest stories. So they go by somebody whose house fallen down and they highlight the person's plight and so on, and then they at the end of it they put up the person's cell phone number, and if you want to help. And I keep saying, CNC3 is owned by one of the largest conglomerates in this country, right? Billions of dollars they make in revenue, and hundreds of millions of dollars goes to $1 billion in profit. Even if the owners of the company, when they see these things, they have enough money that they could build a house for some of these people. They could do that. And don't have to be nothing fancy. All this money that they have, but yet still you will highlight the story for the wider public to donate, and rather than those who have the money, who could do it, who could close there, could write a check and help so many of these people. $1 million can help so many of these people that they put up. And that's the thing that I look at, right? And so in the US, while in Trinidad here we talk about the government need to help out the poor, and they need to do this for the poor, and they need to do that for the poor. The US government that is doing some of these things, and you have citizens of the US who are against that and who will support Donald Trump because they have an issue with the Biden administration, for instance, providing debt relief for persons who have been paying off student loans for years. And the Biden administration say, here what? We understand the stress that has. We have people who are impacted by inflation, the price of this going up, the price of that going up, and they have no control over that. So let's see if we could provide relief to some of these people, at least by paying off student debt. And you have citizens of the United States of America who oppose to that, who oppose to the government providing free meals for people, well, not just the students who can't afford it, but free meals on the whole. You have people who are opposed to that and calling these persons who benefit from that freeloaders and all kind of thing. I just found that to be so amazing. And this is what you have people in Trinidad are calling for the government to do these things. But our government can't print money. And they have to work within the parameters of what they do have and what they could provide based on what they do have. But we don't call on the private sector that could do so many things. The private sector sit down and twiddling their thumb and waiting to see what Ember going to announce in the budget that could benefit them from a tax perspective before they invest in this and before they help. But everything is the government and the government and the government. And when we expect the government to do more things and they don't have the money, they have to borrow. But we have a problem when they borrow. Don't borrow. Don't take from the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. Don't raise taxes. So where you want them to get the money from? Where you want them to get? You want more. Fix all the roads. Hire more people. Create more jobs. Reopen the refinery. Do this. Fix up the refinery. Spend money on this. Spend money on that. Everybody, you have so much poor people. We want water 24/7 in the pipe. You want this and you want that. And the government is telling you, it's not that we don't want to give it to you all, no. We just don't have the money for it. Oil revenues are down, gas revenues are down, and that is our main source of income. And therefore, we can't give you all everything that you want. If we had the money, we would do it. They may want to understand that. But you know what? They rather listen to Kamala Basadi sister, who will promise you the sun, the moon, and the stars. Put us back in office, and everything that Rowley don't want to give all you, we will give you. And everything that Rowley take, we will give you back. But we're not going to tell you where we will get the money from. You know why? Because all you don't monitor things like the Auditor General report. You just only study that and read that when Rowley in office. Right? But if you had read it between 2010 to 2015, you would have seen where the UNC, despite Kamala claiming the highest energy revenues in the country's history, increased the deficit on the exchequer account from 10 billion under Manning to 33 billion, the highest it's ever been in the country's history. And now you're asking no question about that. You're not asking, well, the money that the government, this administration, paying on interest on that could have gone to paving more roads, providing more book grants and uniform grants and all the things that you all want, that in the US they would consider to be socialist. The money that the government has to be spending on interest for the loans that Kamala take for the Cuba Hospital and the Aquatic Center and the Racket Center and the Cycling Velodrome, those loans that started to be paid when this administration came in and they have to find the money to pay the loan and to pay interest, that money could have been going towards all the things that you want this government to do that they cannot do because they don't have the money. Jenny.
The comment that you said the person wrote about and they don't pay
Yes.
no bill. I'm sure somebody that has a surname, an Indian surname. It may not be a person of Indian descent, but you look at the surname.
No, he is based on his
type of surname.
Yeah, based on his picture.
And
yes.
I want to tell them, it's so ironic that they ascribe poverty to African people and not paying the bill, not minding the trade. I want them to really understand the history, and this is not bashing anybody, this is real talk. Bangladesh, that's right opposite Wassa, in Farm Road, in St. Joseph. That's a squatting community. They just went there and just occupied it. Was them paying light and utilities? When you look at Bamboo 1, 2, and 3, that was land, state land again, where public officers went in there to tell them who was squatting, you need to come off the land, it's not good for planting, it's not good for living. And they run them with gun. And the public officers, who are officers of the state, employees of the state, had to run for their life. I don't know why the state didn't move on that, but that's the next story. But the point I'm making is how they occupy were they paying light and water bill and all them things? When you look at the social welfare office, especially going to Annapurna, who it is running on social welfare? Which is the right because they are citizens of this country. But there are a lot of women, you know why? Because the Indian man who drinking rum, he not minding the children, he beating them, and they how much children they want to send them to school. The right there, some of the elderly, they come in of Indian descent, which is the right, they are the citizens, but they're going to get the 65-year-old age pension, they never walk no way, they're running it down. So why don't us look at African people who are trying to get the same services?
Yes.
Who could be begging more all over the place because the children and the hungry and the man beating them and managing. Who does do it? It's not African people. This is not an African thing. This is a human thing. But when you tell them that, they want to move as if you being racial against them and play the victim. It's not a victim here again because Indian people have been running down social welfare just like all the way. Indian women will be going through the man beating them and horning them and drinking rum and ill-treating them just like on the other community. It have all type of things happening in their community, incest. That is high in that the Indian community happening. They don't talk about them thing. It has little Indian girls who can't go to school because you know why? Ask them what happening to them in the night with the relatives and them. Ask some of them when they come home from school if they had to perform the duty like if it's wife too. So they can't even study their schoolwork because they're burdened with what's happening to them at home. And sometimes it's the close relatives who are doing these things to them. Those things are happening, but you know what? That is hidden. But talk about the young girl in Beatam, talk about the young girl in Silas, talk about the young girl in Mova and Lavantin and the East West Corridor and watch them with their short skirt and carry on their name and still kind of think about them. But then watching what has happened across the Caroni Bridge. And that is so unfair that they continue to perpetuate as if something is wrong with African people. Nothing is wrong with us. We have our issues just like anybody else, but they always highlight that. Look, I see the same CNC tree, I think it is. Have some lawyer, a white lawyer, with an ad showing one set of white people, and then talking about Trinidad had crime and this and this, and he come in here to show me how to go to America and England and places to get work. And if you see the comments below, and it's people with Indian surname, yes, we go, and it's a good thing. And I had to tell some of them, right now in America, they're looking to create work for their own citizens there. They think it will work for any immigrants coming up there. Right now in England, it has a riot going on and crime increase and all that. So it's any different or worse than Trinidad and Tobago. In Canada, had the challenges with crime and unemployment. Europe have that challenge, so this white man coming down here to tell me how to go. We have the American embassy, we have Google, we could check and see what's happening in the world. No white man lawyer had to come down to Trinidad like if we's a banana republic and we's a shithole, as Donald Trump say, to tell we how to help we. People from this country going in Canada for years working on the exchange with the picking apples and them things. We have those things happening already, but again, they continue to show you, and then see where they're going on. You can't watch that and it look totally racist to me. Because you coming on here just to help those with long hair, blue eye, fair skin, and straight nose. Because me and see no picture you're showing an African person. But you make sure They have advertisement showing it's crime in this country and this happening, all that. And again, if we don't check ourselves and we do not push back and not take that, they will make in this country African people second-class citizens. And that is what I've been pushing for. And you know, I ended with this now because I'm a person, I like history. I did some psychology also, so I understand the psychological effects of these things. They pretend, some of them, as if their history started in this country in 1845, and they refuse to accept the history prior to that. But you know what? They want to tell everybody whip, and the whip, this 30-mouth one, Kurt Mayhew with the false accent, but we still suffering from the whip. You know what? Okay, we suffering from the whip. Well, you're always suffering from Kurt Mayhew, always suffering from the thought that all it came from a heritage that was gathered, the untouchables in India, whose job was relegated to cleaning the street of filth and body fluid, who if a Brahmin, they always shadow for an a Brahmin, all the ancestors shadow for an a Brahmin. The Brahmin and them had to go and do all kind of puja because it come taboo like it's applied. And all they had to drop all their head to the ground when all they see a Brahmin passing or the higher caste passing. And I will end with this. That is why when Kamala Prasad, the sister, as the first woman president, prime minister of this country, proud, went to India as a leader, bent down to kiss the foot of our next leader, and the woman had to pull she up to say, no, you don't need to do this thing. Isn't because she has remnants of the thought that her ancestors came from that. It's the same way. All I want to say, we had the remembrance of the whip. Okay, take that, plate on the pipe and smoke, and we know the assignment 2025 will the People's National Movement for progress for the whole country, for all citizens, because PNM has always been the only national party where Indian, Chinese, Syrian, African, any race could come and be a part and feel a part of this country. Thank you, Dominic. But let us take that. We had the whip, we had the remnants of the whip, but only have remnants of the Dalit caste system, the inhumane caste system. India that only run from India to come Trinidad. We never run from Africa. Only run in India to come in for a better life, and only was very good to do that. And only would have succeeded very good. But don't play only talking to we as if we less than only. We equal like anybody else, and we will stand shoulder to shoulder, eye to eye, toe to toe, and develop this country. And all those who say indifferent, we rejecting that. Come 2025, you know the assignment. Jamaica gonna just get down next, you know why? It's too long now. They have African persons afraid to talk the truth because we're afraid they say we're racial. But they can say what they want about we on Facebook, morning, noon, and night, call we all kind of name. And when we answer back now, we racial, I ain't taking that foolishness. It you know, Michelle Obama, when they go low, we go high. When they go low, we go in lower. You hear Kamala Harris and them talking and talk. When them go low, we go in low. And if we have to go down in the dirty lagoon to come up, we will do it. You know why? Enough is enough. Enough is enough. 2025 will know the assignment. We ain't going no higher than nobody else. We will stand and we go jam with them today. We go jam them back legally, not threatening. We ain't threatening nobody, but it's a fact. We will jam them back with facts, information, and truth. And that's what you just bring and all the others who is supporting the People's National Movement and the interest of this country, that will be coming with, that will be jamming them back with. So when they go low, we go in low and come up with the facts. So when we come up on top, people will understand what it's about 2025, the assignment for the People's National Movement.
Thank you, Jen. Hello, good morning.
Morning, sir.
Morning, sir.
Good morning to the listeners, callers, and followers of another segment, Facts and Stubborn Things. Sister Jenny, you said it all. You said it all. There's nothing much more for me to say. All I have to say is the mission is going forward 2025. You understand? Because the UNC, the unpatriotic, nefarious crooks, we just call them in this country, is not good. You understand? They're not about country, they're not about the well-being and the welfare of the citizenry of this Twin Island Republic. And I see that the toilet paper party echoing the same chamber with the UNC in Trinidad. So the UNC trying to hold on to the toilet paper party, right, to clean the feces that be excreted in Tobago. But we shall wait and see, because you know, Fala is disgusting, going to join allegiance with the UNC next year. So we next year will be full of many surprises. Many surprises. Yeah, so Dominic, let me just according to Brian, let me give you a reminder of what happened in the year 2014 under the unpatriotic, nefarious crooks led by the Separia Bats. And I will continue to call on the Separia Bats, right? The year 2014, January to December 2014, continued escalated crime in 2014. January, FCB deal with executive trading millions in shares. March 25th, 2014, firing of FCB executive over share purchase and sale. April 10, 2014, Senator Ramkilawan resigns as FCB deal. March 11, 2014, allegations of bid rigging in water treatment plant at Bitam. March 25th, Glenn Ramanasingh fired conductor at Kal Airport, or Kal Fly, sorry. March 26, 2014, Deva Maharaj tried to blame PNM for people attack. March 31st, 2014, Chadi Sharma resigned as alleged abuse of ex-girlfriend. March, allegation of sexual misconduct by Delmont Baker. April 2014, allegations of Glenn Ramanasingh promising agency houses for sexual favors. April 2014, 18 months since Gabe resigned and permanent cop unable to appointed. AG and Flying Squad report leak. AG and Solicitor General Prison Gate. Auditor General report 2013, Dynasty and murder. No one was arrested to date. 3.5 million reward offer. May 4, 2014. US dollar shortage. Volney apology to Ramlogan. Lies for corruption. Anna Roberts video. UNC racist placard for PNM march. Minister on tape criticizing the cabal. Leak of email. Government plan to discredit Dr. Rowdy. Lies for corruption. Petition oil spill at Point Refinery. Anna Roberts fired. Professor Ramesh Jusaran resigned as Police Service Commission. Constitutional Amendment Bill in the Parliament. Right to recall. National Award given to Manning and Pandey. Protocol proper adhere. Both return and retake award. Vishnu Ramnarayan. MP de Bhopals. Sasha Mohammed, Janice Thomas, your name in the sun is numbered. Nizam, do you know I am Mohammed Hasibul Mohammed, the Court Commissioner with false people? Jamal Mohammed, stupid Muslim, email session to the American contract with Luxurious Danos Limited, Colin Patap, the new secret flying squad, the Prime Minister Vedwatin Newton, Kamla's nephew, sister living in residence, Ambassador B. Parson receives dividing message to Jackwana and FIFA. Jackwana reported crime figures attempted to ban police, Jackwana, Soka warriors, Jackwana INC, Regency, scandal, Jackwana the whole. Green Kubla Singh protest. The truth about OPV's reimbursement, Jack and Cam images and national flag. Carl Chairman, 20,000 a month. Pastor Barrett and the Porsche Cayenne, Kamla Force Gifts, Anna Ramlogan. Ashmo Jack, Bill House with Pumpkin Cucumber, a field SOE, Jackie Watsky and the toy plate, Dwayne Gibbs, failure, Kamla and Anna Ramlogan, still Asian Steve numerous lifeline for state, the fire truck email gate, the electronic monitor and DVP office, bought for 120 million worth 5 million. The Range Rover flashing blue lights and modular uses. Half a monthly rental for unused buildings, slap gate, breast grab gate, nipple penis gate, prison gate, life sport gate, ganja gate, fraudulent chief solicitor's letter to Kubla Singh, questionable SIS contract, AG witness tampering, scandal at NGC, TNTech, Wasa, Petrotrin, 353.7 million payout to favored lawyers, Bogan DPP office, land grab, two-party supporters, the FCB IPO scandal, false papers crew, TCL trading scandal, $60 million theft in national energy, and the collapse of NGC, and that is just 2014. As time go along, I will reveal 13, 12, 11, and 10. That is what you all, if or they play fast
and lose the dollar vote come 2025, just so I read out there, in 2014, that is 10 years ago, it will be that times 10. You understand? So it goes to show that this UNC so-called party, that the party for country, is not good for the governance of this country. Dominic, I want to find out something. Let me say if Kamala Harris won the election, not if, when, in November, does Kamala Harris know Kamala Prasad? No. She know David Lee? No. She know Ruda Munilal? No. She know Jillington? No. So, by looking at the internet, she will see all these opposition MPs who before the court, who have allegations, who have charges against their name. You think Kamala Harris going to want to have anything to do with these people? God forbid they come in office next year. You think Maduro going to want anything to do with these people? You think Australia, all these places that the government have been flying to bring ties and economic and investors to the country, will be good for when they're in office? No. You understand? And I hear this Indian, I see there are some Indian thing in the library in Tonga. The commission in India talking about the foolishness and the BS that the leader of the opposition said about one of the Indian supporters in India. They more than chastise the leader, but then again, could Kamala go back to India at this present time to have ties with India after you slander one of the natives? Let me make it make sense. But then again, the vex how the Indian National Command do business with the black man. They don't want that. They want there to be office so they can come back and do ties with them. They say, yes, well, we have ties with our homeland, our motherland. You understand? But people, as Jenny said, we have a mission come 2025 and we have to continue it. People, right now, we have to be focused because UNC going at any length to destroy this country just to gain office. If it's to burn it down and govern the ashes, they will do it. And the stupid and the foolish supporters echoing the same hymn, right? So people, the mission 2025 on the horizon, 1 year from now, is the final year in the PNM administration, because today is the 8th year, 1 year from now, right? So people stay focused. We have a lot of work to do. Forget about social media officer and whoever. Them not important right now. We have to get the job done to remain for the government to remain there to continue going forward, right? Dominic, good program as usual. Locked on and listening.
Thank you, sir. Right, so it is now 9 o'clock, so I will leave it there for this morning. As I said, I have a Zoom call to do. I saw Melka says, I wonder what other discussions Kamala had with the EBC chairman when she went there some time ago. How come nobody had interest in what was discussed? So that's a good point, Melka. But I think the UNC may be anticipating that the results of the Venezuela elections may go in, or that situation may be settled in Maduro's favor. And if that is so, if they win next year, it may, recognizing that they may need to make some sort of overture, because you realize Kamala hasn't commented on the results of that election. Munilal hasn't commented. David Lee hasn't commented. The only person I see commenting on that from that camp is Kevin Ramnarayan, and he's doing so privately, well, on his Facebook page. And I find I took note of that, right? Because while last night on CNC3, I saw they conducted Sheila Rampasad, the usual suspects, for commentary on the Prime Minister's position with respect to Venezuela, where he says they're taking a neutral position. And when she described that as being cowardly, right? Prime Minister cannot take this cowardly position. It has nothing to do with cowardly. Has any other CARICOM prime minister come out and made a pronouncement with respect to that? So they are cowards too? Is that what Sheila Rampasad is saying? Even Guyana, who has a more vested interest in Nicolas Maduro leaving office than any other CARICOM territory, they put out a very nebulous statement that without that doesn't really attack the situation. So we just saying, okay, that the rule of law should be followed and therefore democratic rights and whatnot and whatnot and whatnot. But a general statement, but nothing speaking directly to the situation. So does Sheila Rampasad think that Irfan Ali is also a coward? They want them to do like David Abdullah and come out and say Maduro win? Because the MSJ said they send two representatives as election observers, and they are satisfied that the process was free and fair and so on. But as I said, the usual suspects that they go to. But take note, nobody in the UNC hierarchy has made a statement on that. But they're calling on Dr. Rowley to say something. While they go try and reach Kamala and ask her for comment. She learned her lesson last time when they threw all the marbles out and decided to throw the support behind Juan Guaido. How did that work out for them? Where is Mr. Guaido today? Huh? He wasn't asked to hear his name. He wasn't even part of this election. Wasn't featured. His name wasn't mentioned anyway. So she learned her lesson last time when how they chastised Dr. Rowley and so on because Trump was supporting Guaido. So we need to run behind Mr. Trump too. Yeah. But this time, they are so quick. Hush, no, shh. Because if we win next year, we need that. You see what's going on? We need that dragon gas, and we need that manatee gas, and we need that mannequin and coquina gas. So hush all them out. Shh. Because we need the money from that. And plenty money to thief, and we can't afford to have that scuttled. So all hush all them out. Stop criticizing Maduro. I don't know if it is people advising them. Hush. Don't say nothing. Because Maduro know what it is. When all they say things, it gets back to him. So hush all them out. In case all you win next year, remember, all you need that money. That's billions of dollars we're talking about. All you got thief. You're set for life after that one term. Don't mess it up. Shh. Hush all your mouth. Hush. We feel we stupid. We know what is going on. Understand what is at risk here, people? Yes, Veronica, they get pip. All of a sudden, they're not interested in what's happening. They ain't talking about his motormouth, talking about Captain Audacity, talking about the Prime Minister needs to make a statement because depending on how things go, you can have an influx of Venezuelans coming to Trinidad and so on. So if the Prime Minister make a statement, that will change that? So if the Prime Minister make a statement, you figure out somehow that Mr. Maduro said, well, okay, Keith Rowley said that I should accept defeat and leave, and he will pack up his bag and leave Miraflores. That's how it works. Dr. Rowley have such powers? Dr. Rowley knows exactly what he's doing. And he has Trinidad and Tobago's long-term best interest at heart. Right? The last time that they tried to pull a coup on Mr. Maduro, the same foreign powers that had issues, we know how that worked out. Right? So Dr. Rowley, you keep quiet, adopt the same stance, because we have more to lose than any other Caribbean country, and them are saying nothing, you don't say nothing neither. Right? You, as you said, whoever answering the phone, let Venezuela sort out their business. And who else want to make direct intervention, let them sort out their business. Right? We have too much at stake to lose. Don't take no chin up from Captain Audacity, Motormouth, and any one of them, Sheila Rampasad, and who want to call you coward, that's their business. Let them call you what they want to call you. Well, you don't take them up. We're not having that. You know better than that. You're a seasoned politician. You've been a parliamentarian for over 30 years. Relax yourself. That is going to be your legacy. Right? Your legacy. You will be able to lay claim to the fact that you did what at least two other administrations before you couldn't do. So relax yourself. Right? Good. Folks, thank you all so much. Sarah says Dr. Rowley smarter than the whole opposition. And then some. That is true. Dr. Rowley know what he's doing. Don't take them. He ain't buying that. He ain't taking that bait at all. Right? If CARICOM needs to make a general statement, let them go ahead. But they're not putting Keith Rowley say. Right? Keith Rowley say. Because Maduro know how to maneuver and manipulate the thing too. So I don't know David Abdullah, but I don't know why isn't he coming out to support Dr. Rowley's position? So he say Maduro win. Come and support Dr. Rowley's position, but no, he ain't gonna do that. Stupid. Folks, we'll chat on Sunday. Yes, Dr. Rowley, stay neutral. we'll chat on Sunday morning, God's willing. Yeah, we will try and delve a little more into Maladukaran and other things that I'm sure will develop between now and Sunday. Yeah? So enjoy the rest of your day, rest of your week. Make it a productive one, as I always say, until Sunday.